When you get Eau Rouge right, it feels fantastic. Today, it seems that it's the most difficult corner in the world of Grand Prix racing.
Eau Rouge means to me my biggest accident in Formula One or in my racing life.
It's very demanding, very, very difficult, and it needs a lot of skill.
You want to simply go with a bicycle there or walk up through this corner, and then you imagine you do this with 280, then you know what I'm talking about.
I love Eau Rouge because it's a mixture of pleasure and fear. Fear when you enter the corner, pleasure when you come out the other side.
People call the greatest race course in the world, Spa, for the Grand Prix of Belgium, round 13 in the FIA Formula One World Championship. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Joy alongside former Ferrari Formula One driver Derek Bell, and Peter Windsor, former team manager at Williams and Ferrari, will join us from the paddock. Let's have a look at what's coming up on our Mercedes-Benz pre-race today. The two team principals involved on the trade, if you will, of Jenson Button for 2001. We'll have a look at where other drivers may or may not be headed next season. Highlights of a qualifying session that had a very upside-down result from what we're used to seeing. And we'll go one-on-one with the head of Ferrari. Well, rain is the word right now here in Spa. Drivers are on course. The Jaguars of Eddie Irvine and Johnny Herbert were the first to take to the track. It's been dry all weekend, Eric, but it is soggy now.
Yes, it's really very, very wet. But it's not actually raining that much at the moment, so it's going to be a real decision on what tyres to take at the start. And I think it'll be really intriguing to see the lottery of who does what. See water lying just there.
You saw a shot of Mika Hakkinen, the defending world champion, who is now also the point leader. Michael Schumacher just 2 back, Coulthard just 6 back. These three could leave Spa all tied for the world championship. If Coulthard wins, Schumacher runs second and Hakkinen third today.
And in the constructors, we have McLaren just ahead with 112 over Ferraris, 111, Williams 24, Benetton 18, BAR 12, and Jordan 12.
Michael Schumacher acknowledged as the best in the world in the rain, and you see the deep tread on those Bridgestones. They have a new intermediate and a new full wet weather tire here, and it looks like one or both of those compounds will get a workout as David Coulthard comes into the pit lane after one of his recon laps. Well, there's lots of news, and earlier, when the sun was out, Peter filed this report to catch us up on the news of the last 2 weeks.
Well, I'm here with a brand new set of Bridgestone intermediate tyres because you never know what the weather's going to be like at Spa. The big news in the paddock, Mika Salo will not be racing in Formula One next year, but don't worry, he will be driving. He'll be testing for Toyota next year and racing from 2002 onwards. That team put together by Ove Anderson, the man responsible for many years for Toyota's rallying success, and the chassis designed by André de Contens, who used to work at Sauber, Renault, and at Prost. So Mika Salo testing for them next year on Michelin tyres. He enjoys racing in Formula One, but driving for Sauber in the midfield, not quite the same as racing up there for Ferrari as he did as Super Sub. So Mika Salo hoping, of course, to make a big comeback to racing in 2002 with Toyota. Lots going on in the silly season, lots of movement going on. We'll be talking about that in a minute. Looks as if Luciano Berti's position at Jaguar is getting stronger by the minute. Meanwhile, in the pit lane, Sam Michaels, the highly rated engineer who runs Heinz-Harald Frentzen for Jordan, is being wooed by both Williams and Ferrari. He's very highly prized. He wants to see himself as a chief designer, so Sam Michaels potentially on the move. Finally, rumors are that Barry Green, the man responsible for Jacques Villeneuve's success in America at Indianapolis and in kart, will be coming into Formula One running the BAR team instead of Craig Pollock. That's only a rumor, but of course that is what makes the Formula One world go round.
Well, I must say, Jordan don't need to lose that young Sam Michaels. That wouldn't be a thing for them. They've already lost their chief design technical director. He's gone off to Benetton.
No, and that Barry Green rumor started in Indianapolis, and I guess it was us at Fox that floated it across the pond. Jacques Villeneuve says it's rubbish. He'd be the first to know if the change was coming. Well, it's been confirmed that Jenson Button is moving to Benetton for 2 years, and it's obvious that Montoya is coming. Peter Windsor sat with the team principals to talk about how Button came to Williams and why he's leaving.
We have another driver coming, whose name you well know I shan't mention. And there always was going to be a slot for him. Alex and the team decided better to separate quite late in the day, mid-December. So we needed a driver very quickly. There were no obvious choices. We took a chance with Jensen. He has responded brilliantly. But even if Jensen won, maybe if Jensen won the first, all 12 of the recent races, it may have been different, but reality is otherwise. And we made a move which involved Jensen moving sideways for a couple of years. Of course, that always was on the cards to do so.
Is it true that you turned down a large sum of money to have his contract bought out by his management team?
I never make any comment on business conversations, which regrettably others choose to do.
For the first year in Formula One, no mistake in managing finish race in very difficult situation. I believe it's good from England to have one good driver, because it's many years there was not so many drivers in England. It's good for Formula One, somebody with this kind of appeal, you know. He's young, he look good, you know, and for the moment it's normal. Let's see, you know.
Well, let's not forget that Montoya, of course, was the test driver at Williams in '98, hence Frank's loyalty. And the guy is very quick.
And Frank does still hold Button's contract and may bring him back after 2 years at Benetton. When we come back, we'll try to put some of these faces into their places for 2001. Welcome back to our Mercedes-Benz pre-race for the Belgian Grand Prix. You see there's a lot of water on the circuit. Not a heavy rain falling, but cars trying to dissipate some of that, and tire choice will be quite critical today. Well, next year is shaping up in Formula One, and there is going to be a lot of movement, especially further down the grid. While in many parts of the world it's summer, here in the Formula One pit lane it is silly season. Here's a look ahead. Next year, Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard return for McLaren Mercedes. No change there, nor at Ferrari, where the prancing horse will again be ridden by Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. The change at Jordan is not in the driver's seat, but it's behind them. Factory Honda power for Frentzen and Trulli. Jenson Button has impressed everyone in his rookie season for Williams, but he goes out on loan for 2 years to Benetton, where he'll partner Giancarlo Fisichella. So at Williams, Indy 500 winner and kart champ Juan Pablo Montoya is all but confirmed to join Ralf Schumacher. Olivier Panis has spent the season as McLaren's test driver, and with good result. He'll move to BAR next to Jacques Villeneuve. Eddie Irvine returns to lead the Jaguar team, but the second seat is open. Luciano Berti, their test driver, is the top pick for that ride, though others have been mentioned. Jean Alesi says his contract is with Alain Prost, not necessarily the Prost team. So if Alain stays, Alesi stays. And likely Pedro Diniz brings lots of sponsor money for the second seat. At Sauber, everything is up for grabs, including the engine package. They may get last year's Ferrari engines, but who will drive? Arrows gets new AMT power behind Pedro de la Rosa and a yet-to-be-named teammate. While Minardi sees Genet and Mazzacani returning unless a bigger name or more money becomes available for one or both seats.
Well, one of the drives that really is available, a great drive, is the test drive at McLaren, of course, because Olivier Panis has gone to BAR, and we saw other great drivers have been there and moved on to better things in the past.
Yeah, that got Heidfeld his ride with Prost for this season. So, yeah, that's a big seat yet to be filled. Well, we've had a lot of your email questions about pit stops in Germany. Would McLaren Mercedes have fared better if they brought both Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard in at the same time, even if they had to stack Coulthard to wait for his service, Peter?
That's right, Mike. McLaren's decision in the German Grand Prix to try to stack up their two cars has really thrown Formula One into a little bit of turmoil, particularly here at Spa, where it's a very short pit lane and the weather is not dissimilar from Hockenheim, and there is a history of safety cars going out. So we might see other teams in the race stacking their cars up as McLaren planned to. They didn't, because David Coulthard didn't actually hear the right radio communication. But had they done so, it probably would have worked and Coulthard wouldn't have lost as many places. Now, why is it they didn't actually refuel Coulthard simultaneously next to Mika Häkkinen? Well, that's because in Formula One you're allowed to do that, but each team has so much spent on one stop. 15 people in the case of McLaren, massive amount of equipment. It just wouldn't be feasible to do that for two separate drivers. Beyond that, of course, it would also cause massive congestion. Now, here at Spa, we may well see teams stacking if the weather or the situation demands it. And if that happens, at the other end of the pit lane, where there's even less space between the garages and here at McLaren and Ferrari, there will be mayhem.
We invite your questions and comments. Formula1@foxsports.net is our email address. Well, with Formula One budget, you'd think an extra 15 mechanics wouldn't be a big problem, but the space is. When we come back, we'll go for a spin in qualifying, as Rubens Barrichello did quite literally. The Italian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, noon your local time, except in several markets. We'll show you at the end of today's telecast. Most of you will see it at noon. Our Mercedes-Benz pre-race rolls on as most of the teams, most of the cars now have all come back from their reconnaissance laps in the wet. Far different condition than what we saw earlier on this most wonderful of racetracks.
Yes. Certainly in qualifying yesterday, it was the most beautiful, beautiful weather, one has to say. Spa at its absolute best. So let's look at this here. We have 44 laps of this 4.33 mile track. You can see 3 places there that are really good for overtaking. Of course, in the wet, it'll be a different picture altogether. A circuit dearly loved by all the drivers. Let's get out there and do a lap with David Coulthard. He's accelerating now past the pits up into La Source hairpin, which is the highest point of the circuit. He always gets a bit of understeer as you turn in there. You can see the car pushing at the front. You've really got to get wound up going down the hill past the old pits, which are on the right-hand side. And let's just ride with David as he goes through this incredible Eau Rouge. He backed off a bit there as he went through the first part, and I don't blame him. We've heard his comments already. And then he's accelerating way up the hill, up to 205 miles an hour, up to Lake Com. As he comes to there, very hard braking down to the third gear, 85 miles an hour as he turns in for the left-hander there, the right-hander in the second part, squirts it all the way down to Rivage. 170 is pulling just here in this short bit into Rivage. The car easily slides out wide there if you don't hold it in on that apex. Doesn't need all the road as it comes out. Very important corner here. Accelerates down the hill to what I consider to be one of the most exciting corners, Pouhon. They take this corner at about 145 miles an hour in fourth gear. Accelerates out of that up to 170, up to 190 as he brakes for Fane. There's a right, keep the car in the middle of the road, don't use all the road going through there, trying to control the power, getting it on. A smooth surface nonetheless. And then he comes into the most critical corner. It's called Stavelot, the lowest part of the circuit. From here, it's basically flat. He feathers a little bit there. It's an early lap in practice, and then works his way all the way up the hill, just passing on the left there, the old circuit coming in on your left-hand side, a flat kink, and then into the very, very famous Blanchimont corner, 190 miles an hour, and up in 200 miles an hour, up into the bus stop chicane, braking very hard, 50 miles an hour as he turns in across the curbs. An awful corner. The drivers hate it. They'd much rather keep the power all the way up through, blasting through Clubhouse. That was a lap with David Coulthard.
Characteristics here, Derek?
Well, the track surface is very changeable, particularly when it's wet. The grip level is medium when it's dry. Tire compound, everybody's using a soft tire. Tire wear is medium, brake wear is medium, maximum throttle 60% of the time, and naturally the fuel consumption is high.
And you see how wet it is at Spa here today. That was certainly not the case yesterday when the drivers went out for qualifying.
No, it certainly wasn't. Qualifying was certainly very, very intriguing yesterday. It was very much in the sunshine. Look at them there with the sun blasting down. The track was very dry. Even the grass was very, very dry. But as always, it was an intriguing session. Mika Häkkinen, he went out early. He had some setups to change on the car, and he proved his point by actually completely dominating qualifying, getting pole position. David Coulthard went out. He was trying to get up there as well, but he had a moment here with the Jordan of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. So David paid him back later on in the next lap. When the same thing happened here, David got in his way, and Heinz-Harald had to take to the grass. He, in fact, got quickest lap, but he was disallowed it. So David had another go at him as well. The boys were playing a lot. Alexander Wirtz, well, he had an engine go early on and had to take the training car out. Only got one lap in it. And then to make things worse for the poor Benetton team, Giancarlo Fisichella, he had an engine problem too, and he had to stop and come in and get the training car from Wirtz. But he qualified 11th on only one lap. Very well done by Fisichella. Michael Schumacher with the Ferrari not having a great weekend here, but he did manage in that usual Schumacher way to squeeze a lap in, fourth quickest. Rubens Barrichello, meanwhile, he was having a pretty torrid time, and he had a spin trying to get up there amongst the leaders, but he could only manage a very poor, lowly 10th position. Jarno Trulli, meanwhile, is trying exceptionally hard to prove how quick he really is, but he hits the curves too hard. Next lap, he doesn't hit them as badly, and he gets a beautiful lap, gets in on the front row. Jenson Button, the phenomenal of this year, he gets through there and he gets third place. What a wonderful piece of driving by him, but it's Mika Häkkinen that's on pole. Let's hear what Mika Häkkinen talk about his qualifying situation.
Again, we did some radical changes to the car after the practice this morning, and we wanted to understand them as soon as possible in the start of the qualifying, and that's why we went out.
Didn't quite expect to be third on the grid. We were thinking top 6 would be great after the practice this morning, but no, absolutely ecstatic.
Peter Windsor's talking with one of the two young lions at the front of the grid, Jarno Trulli.
Fantastic qualifying performance, Jarno. Front row of the grid, the classic circuits, Monaco, Spa. What is it about these places?
Very good, especially for young drivers like me and Jenson, which are we are always pushing very hard. I'm really pleased for me and also from Jenson.
Well, the split times indicate that you are the fastest car here through Eau Rouge. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I think so. I went flat from the morning, so I kept flat all day, and I did it. So I'm really happy.
A great performance and good luck in the race.
Thank you very much.
What a great day yesterday for Jarno Trulli. Here he is live, awaiting the start of this wet weather race at Spa. When we come back, Peter will sit down Formula One-on-one with the head of Ferrari. The Grand Prix of Belgium on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at mbusa.com. As Eddie Jordan and Jackie Stewart confer, we're headed in 2 weeks' time to the Grand Prix of Italy, noon your local time. And then when we come to Indianapolis, Friday practice live on Fox Sports Net at noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. All these are Eastern time. Saturday, September 23rd, live coverage of qualifying 2 p.m. Eastern time. And the 24th, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 1 hour pre-race coverage and the United States Grand Prix. Then in October, we'll be at Malaysia at noon, or at Japan at noon, and then live from Malaysia just past midnight Eastern time on the 22nd of October. So the drivers trying to get dried out after their ride on an open truck around to greet the spectators. And Peter Windsor had a chance to sit down with the president of Ferrari.
As a young team manager at Ferrari back in the 70s, Luca Montezemolo won 2 world championships in 75 and 77. Now, as chairman of Ferrari, it is his company that is trying to win the first drivers' championship for Ferrari since 1979. We asked Luca what it was like working for Enzo Ferrari back in those early days in the 70s.
Well, for me was a fantastic experience, life and professional. I was very young, 25 years old. I was lucky to be so close to him, so I worked 24 hours per day with him. And I learned basically 2 things. One, to look ahead, and number 2, to always push, even if you are in difficult situation, even if you don't win, you have to try as much as you can to succeed. These are the 2 biggest lessons I learned from Enzo Ferrari.
What do you think Ferrari means to the world today? How big is Ferrari from your perspective? And you've done a lot of things now.
I think that Ferrari is a fantastic mark. I think not because I'm the chairman of the company, but fantastic is Ferrari is something unique because it's a mix between very unusual ingredients, passion, technology, a mix between sport, design, lifestyle, but with one common element, a big passion from the chairman to the mechanics, from the clients to the suppliers, a big passion inside, in the middle.
And let's talk about Formula One specifically. Ferrari is almost bigger than Formula One. Do you feel that? How do you see Ferrari's position in Formula One?
I think, to be very honest with you, that my feeling is, but not from now, even 20 years ago, that Formula One without Ferrari is something far different. I don't agree that Formula One doesn't exist without Ferrari, but Formula One without Ferrari is something far different. Ferrari has a crucial role in Formula One, not only because it's the oldest team, not only because since many years it's the only one car manufacturer, but for high touch ingredients, difficult to transfer in words.
In your experience, what are the best 5 Ferrari drivers of all time?
This is a good question. For sure, Fangio. I love Mansell because I love Mansell as attitude, as characteristic. Niki, Michael, and Prost, if I have to say immediately 5 names.
What do you look for in a driver? What is the perfect Grand Prix driver?
Well, for me, it's a mix between intelligence, of course, speed, and also big heart. I don't like the taxi driver only intelligent. I like the drivers that can push. I remember we received a lot of critics at the Niki time, but the first 3 years of Niki pushed a lot. Then he became more intelligent than quick. But I like, for me, Michael is a perfect example. Mansell was a fantastic driver. So I love the way Schumacher in the race. I've never seen such a strong driver, particularly in the race, like Michael.
Let's have your thoughts on Formula One going back to the United States.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy for several reasons. First of all, we like to repeat Formula One today is a worldwide sport. It's not true without United States, so I'm pleased. For Ferrari, I'm super pleased because United States means for us not only our largest market since ever, but also a place where we won fantastic battles, sport battles against Ford in Sebring, in Daytona 24 hours or 12 hours. And then we have a lot of collectors. And last, because I think that United States can represent an important market for sponsor, for public. We need to build up something important.
How big a market is it for you in a car production term?
United States?
Yes.
Again, is our largest market. We sell more or less 4,000 cars, and we sell in United States close to 1/3, only in United States.
What does, do you think the US Grand Prix will be a success? Do you think it can work in America?
I think that as soccer, you remember, now soccer is becoming a very popular sport, particularly in the school. It's necessary to have a strategy, to have a promotion, to start and to insist. I think this is a good first step, but even if it will not be a fantastic success at the first step, we have to continue.
Passion is what you feel when you talk to Luca Montezemolo. Passion and zest for life. We'll hear more from him appropriately at Monza in 2 weeks' time.
Well, what can you say? I mean, the enthusiasm at Ferrari, for somebody that works there, for somebody, it's his love, it's his passion, it's his sport, it's his work. You know, what more can you say about a man like that?
And Ferrari owners and would-be Ferrari owners share that passion. It's very interesting transference.
And actually, and I was fortunate enough to actually have driven for them, and I walked through those hallowed doors at Maranello and saw Enzo Ferrari in his office. I mean, fantastic.
And we'll see scenes of that in our next telecast from Italy. Mika Hakkinen waiting to climb aboard on a very damp day at Spa. We'll be back with the starting grid and the start of the Belgian Grand Prix. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix. The grid is cleared as the formation lap is set to go, and you see the safety car at the front of the field. The weather for today includes a 100% chance of rain. It is but 62 degrees in sharp contrast to the rest of the weekend, which was summertime beautiful. Well, with the safety car out in front of this field, Eric, that certainly changes things.
Yes, it does. I mean, I'm sure for some of these drivers it's going to be a relief. For those further back, for them at the front, it's going to be a real pain to have to do a pace car start or follow it round. It's a great pity in many, many ways. They are coming to the La Source hairpin, where we've seen many, many incidents in the past.
Hakkinen is on pole once again, had a very satisfying qualifying session, went out early, took pole and held it.
And Jarno Trulli, he had his second front row position of the year. Excellent.
What a thrill for Jenson Button to be on the second row in his rookie season.
And Michael Schumacher, well, he I think was quite pleased to be on the second row too.
David Coulthard blocked by some yellow flags and an engine change yesterday morning, could do no better than fifth.
Ralf Schumacher, he's out there too. They ran a qualifying engine and a Spa engine, they called it for today.
Jacques Villeneuve said he lost 2/10 of the bus stop chicane. That relegated him to 7th on the grid.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen having a pretty tricky time out there yesterday.
For Jaguar, Johnny Herbert was 7th through most of the session, ended up 9th, happy with the car.
And Rubens Barrichello, we haven't had many comments from him, but he can't be happy.
As Derek pointed out earlier, Fisichella got only one lap in the T car and had to make a safe run and ended up safely 11th.
And Eddie Irvine, he's only finished one race here at Spa out of 6 starts, so he doesn't like it too much.
Ricardo Zonta not faring too well for BAR. He lines up 13th today.
And Nick Heidfeld, well, he did a super job, I think, for Prost. Very good run by him.
For Sauber, Pedro Denit said he had oversteer in the slow corners. He's 15th, and De La Rosa had problems at the bus stop chicane, ended up 16th. Jean Alesi, terminal oversteer problems and a spin, 17th. Mika Salo fighting for grip, 18th. Alexander Wirtz lost his engine, had to take out the T car and then turn it over to Fisichella, so he is just 19th. And the Minardis with the long, if they're stopping there for arrows, problems with the brake feel, and the Minardis just don't have enough power to pull these long straightaways, and they end up on the back row.
Well, you can see there, Mike, some of the track, like this bit, is quite dry. You can see a drying line just on the left of your screen there, and then other parts of it are very, very wet. Not an ideal situation, and some of the cars are going to be in fairly early on, I reckon, to change tyres, because the tyre degradation on this circuit is exceptionally high, to the degree that the Porsche Cup race earlier today had to be cancelled. In fact, sorry, should I say Saturday, had to be cancelled because the tyre degradation was destroying the tyres.
Well, Ferrari in the rain has been very successful this year with 2 wins for Michael and the win in Germany for Rubens. 3 victories for Ferrari in the wet. But it looked, Eric, as if all the teams went out on full rain. So you saw, as Peter showed us, there's also an intermediate compound, which we see on some high-performance street tires with a V-shaped tread pattern and less sipes in the tire than the full rain. And, of course, the dry tire with the 4 circumferential grooves required by the rules. But if everyone's starting on full wets and this track begins to dry, wow.
Well, Pedro Diniz is, in fact, on the drier tyre, but certainly doesn't lend itself, I think, to a very, very long session before the guys get out there and come in for some drier tyres. Somebody on intermediates, I think, could have done a good job here, and I'm surprised they didn't find it all out. You know, and one of their people tell them what to do.
Right. Well, Mika Hakkinen will try to become the first driver to win this race from the pole. since Ayrton Senna in 1991. This race has not been kind to pole sitters. And we're off as the pace car pulls in. We have started the Belgian Grand Prix without the usual standing start. And the field is well strung out as they come around.
Yes, Michael Schumacher right on the heels of Jenson Button, as you can see, coming up through Eau Rouge. Remember, everybody needs the points valuably. Michael very close there, as is David Coulthard behind him. But Mika Häkkinen got Jarno Trulli right there behind him. Michael has a look at Jenson Button, but doesn't get by. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has a look too.
Michael had Coulthard all but right alongside as they entered that corner. Managed to stave him off.
This is really going to come down to teamwork today, because they're going to have to, I would have thought, change before, possibly if they do 2 stops, maybe they'll change to a 3-stop strategy today, which means they'd be in, but 11 or 12 laps for tires and fuel.
Well, most of the circuit, there you see that little bit of dry line, and there's not very much of it. Still most of the circuit very, very wet. Häkkinen, Trulli, Button, Michael Schumacher, Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher, just the way they started. Jacques Villeneuve and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. And starting behind the safety car, a quick look at the rule book confirms that without the formation lap, that lap behind the safety car is counted as a race lap. So we are now on lap 2. First lap behind the safety car, and this is the second lap that is counting to be scored.
What a dull lap, though.
Yes.
That first lap, it's so unexciting, isn't it, when they do that sort of a start?
Very. And with the field going single file around behind the safety car, no opportunities for overtaking. And I was surprised how strung out they were when they came to the line to actually begin this race under green.
Well, it's been a while since they started like that. I don't think all of them knew how to do it, to be honest with you.
No, and it caught us off guard. I was expecting the pace car to pull in and a green flag, but
Johnny Herbert's doing very well, actually, up there in 10th place. He had a gearbox problem on his warm-up laps just leading up to the start of the race. So they must have fixed that. He wasn't happy with his gearbox, and of course, you know, they've had their fair share of problems this year.
It's interesting,
see how
Derek.
bright the sun is. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
You can see how bright it is getting there. You can see the drying line.
It's tough to see the drivers paraded around as they usually are in either an open car or on the back of an open truck. And there they were in the stinging rain being driven around and all kind of huddled together like chicks. The only driver I saw actually enthusiastically waving to the crowd with his out in the rain was Jarno Trulli. And what a great day for him.
Yeah, what a great day. He was really excited. Here we go as they go into the last source hairpin. Look at Button going out very wide, Michael Schumacher out wide, but Jarno Trulli very tight on the inside trying to get traction. And Rubens going through past Johnny Herbert, with Johnny Herbert having a look down the inside as they come out of there.
And right behind him, Fisichella getting very, very loose.
That was, of course, the replay at the start.
Right.
So cool.
Now, Pedro Diniz, we mentioned, started on the drier compound tires and went straight to the back, as the course is still very, very wet. That, of course, with the weather variable, that may well change and turn out to be a good decision. But for right now, he's 30 seconds behind the leader in 22nd place.
So much depends just how the moisture hangs in those trees. It hangs in that Ardennes forest like you cannot believe. Michael Schumacher dropping well. Look at Button having a go. Button's had a go. Truly outrageous bit of stuff, but is he going to get away on the inside? No. Trulli gets him and out takes him coming out, because Jensen went in there and had a little bit too much push, went out too wide.
What a great try.
The guy does have a go. You've got to admit, 3 seasons that he's in Formula One, and here he is right at the front of a Formula One race, leading Ralf Schumacher, we said, was the sensation. Here's this young man, aged 20. I know he's British, I know I'm British, but my goodness, if he was Italian, French, or whatever, it is an amazing situation. I've never seen anybody come through so quickly into Formula One and then go so well.
And as you say, just his 3rd season in a full-sized racing car of any type in his rookie season in F1. He literally has come from nowhere to Formula One, and not as a back marker, not as a grid filler, or as a suitcase full of cash carrying second driver to help carry a struggling team. But he's come right to the forefront. Gosh, challenging for second.
Yeah, I mean, you see some statistics on Truly there, but in fact, he is actually holding this group up. Jenson Button dying to get by him. There's Eddie Jordan. And Jenson's going to have a look. The problem is to overtake, you've got to take the damp line, because the dry line is the one everybody's running on. And Jenson's got to have to go down the dry line. I never thought I'd be saying this. Jenson challenging for second place in the Grand Prix, his first Grand Prix at Spa. And let me tell you, unless you've driven at Spa, you don't know what you're talking about, because this place is outrageous. And that's exactly what Button called it yesterday.
And it's important to note, Derek, that this is not his first trip here. This is one of the few Grand Prix circuits on which he has previously raced. So he does have experience here, and thus comes in here with enough circuit knowledge to be able to put the Williams into third, and now challenge again for second, as he is all over Jarno Trulli, and Schumacher comes through.
Yeah, well, obviously Trulli held up Jenson. Jenner took the other line, and Michael went through. That's what Michael needed.
Brilliant.
That's what the race needed. Super bit of taking the advantage of things. Michael trying to push out Jenson. Is he going to get Trulli? Yes, he does as well. Brilliant. And there's Button too, but Benson hits him. Only misses him. He carries on. Oh, and he takes out the car on the other side.
That's David on the inside, almost into the fence. And poor Trulli becomes the victim.
Look at this group going down the hill.
Yep. Button lost all his momentum, and Ralph came right up to him.
Yep. There's David, Ralph, and then Jenson.
Oh, what a shame, because the two young drivers were having such a great fight for second place, and now it appears Trulli's race is done.
Well, it was a racing incident. It was certainly a racing incident, because you can't blame anybody for that. Trulli was trying to shut the door, and, you know, that's the way it was.
Yep. So Schumacher comes through for second place and takes Coulthard with him, and Ralf Schumacher, as Benson and Trulli get together while scrapping for second. And you see all those red jackets and hats waving at the first appearance of Michael Schumacher in second place and driving away from that group.
Yeah, Michael driving down the hill. They're on the wet line, trying to keep his tires cool. He doesn't want to get them too hot. These long corners really beat your wet tires to death.
Shauna Lacey has pitted.
The Button having... No, it's Ralph, should I say, having a look and swerving out there to have a look at David. They're going to give Coulthard a hard time, these two Williams boys.
Activity in the pits for Williams, Prost, and Arrows. And now Williams is going back in. Apparently Button has radioed in no damage to his car after just nipping Jarno Trulli. So Alesi's back out on the course.
Because David Coulthard's got a double problem here. He's got these two guys snapping at his heels behind him. And when he wants to go fast, he's got to think, considering blocking out the guys behind him rather than chasing Michael Schumacher.
Well, I can't wait to see the replay, Derek. I don't think Button made a rookie mistake. It looked like he made a fair challenge for the corner and for Trulli's position.
Yeah, it was no rookie mistake at all. He just went through following Michael Schumacher, and Trulli just tried to keep him tight, which one does as a driver. You always do that. It didn't work. And of course, out he went. Coulthard there trying to get the drier line, get the straighter line to get traction as he comes out. There's Jacques Villeneuve going straight across the chicane, or should I say the bus stop chicane.
And Nick Heidfeld is in the pits for Prost, as the weather and the track surface condition is so variable here. Early pit stops in the Grand Prix of Belgium. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Belgium. Jean Alesi's just set the fastest first sector time on this track, as he had come in for slick tires, dry weather tires. Ferrari makes note of that on the computer, and quickly they bring in Michael Schumacher for dries. Ralf Schumacher is in as well for Williams.
They're all coming in now. Obviously they're watching the times that Alesi was doing and said, we've all got to stop. But Mika Hakkinen is probably still out there in front, saying, I'm in the right place at the right time. Jordan ready there.
Frenson's in, Villeneuve's in. Hakkinen stays out. And the pit's indeed very, very congested here, but we didn't see any of that stacking, Derek, where the team brings both cars in at once and one waits for the other to be serviced.
Well, the only place that was really going to happen was with the two Williams, because they were nose to tail. The rest of the field is split up by 4 or 5 seconds, which would allow you to bring one in, even if he had to, because he has to come down the pit lane slowly, and they'll just tell him to hang on.
And to validate that decision, John Alesi just posted the fastest lap of the race.
Now, what you have to understand is that to overtake now, you have to go on that wet line. There we see Mika Häkkinen still on the wets, but he'll be in fairly soon, I imagine. But, of course, to overtake, you've got to take the wet line to go by, which means you have less grip.
So you've got to expect Häkkinen in this next lap. He has opened up a lead that was 11 seconds, and now with Michael Schumacher's pit stop extends to about 17 seconds.
Yeah, well, McLaren are getting ready for a pit stop here for somebody to come in. Is it Mika? Yes, he comes straight up the pit lane. Of course, he's going to go right down to that speed limit, 50 miles an hour. Takes it really steady as he comes in. And, of course, you come into the pit lane as you enter the last bus stop chicane. It's a long way in. It must seem like a nightmare when you're waiting to get in there and change tyres.
Ralf Schumacher has spun but continued as Mika's service is complete. Jenson Button now in for Williams.
Look, he's only just coming out in front of David there. Now, is Jenson going to get out in front of Ralf, who we heard just had a spin? Well done, that's a good stop.
Mika Salo coming in as Button comes out. Eddie Irvine is in. And there's Coulthard still on reins.
Now we'll see just how good those tyres are as Mika pulls away from Coulthard.
And David's going to find himself in much the same situation he was in Germany, having to run an extra lap on the tires that are not the best suited for the condition, and then come in and make his stop.
But he could have come in the lap before. Mika was already at the pit lane, and David could have come in. Mika was cruising his way out. Whether he chose to or McLaren's needed that extra time to get the other tyres ready, I suppose that was it. But I would have wanted to get in there pretty darn quick.
Or perhaps it was the driver's choice to stay out. Certainly a lot of communication back and forth, and only just now are McLaren coming out to set up for Coulthard. So he should be in this lap. And you see how dry the circuit is getting on the racing line.
Well, there was so much warmth in the track from the last week, in such good weather in Europe. And the rain only really came in this morning, overnight. And, of course, the track is warm underneath. That's the Lassour's hairpin, working his way down over the old pit lane. There's David Coulthard coming in. Good stuff.
Now, the only driver who has not pitted is Pedro Diniz. Remember, we told you that he went to the tail end of the field because he started on dry tires. He can run a normal two-stop race if the weather does not further change. And all of this has moved Diniz up to 12th. So perhaps starting on the dry tires is going to turn out to be a good move for him after all.
The fastest lap of the race for Michael Schumacher, 2 minutes. Remember, they qualified in 1:51, so they're still several seconds off that fast, dry time that they did. But remember, you cannot be quite as committed in these conditions. Just look at that line, and you've got to allow for the fact that obviously the white stuff, the white tarmac on the outside, the white lines is still very, very moist.
So after pit stops, Mika Häkkinen leads Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher, Jean Alesi, and Jenson Button are the first six. Jack Villeneuve, Frentzen, Barrichello, Denitz, Herbert, and Irvine. Let's go back and have a look at that somewhat controversial incident.
Still there behind David Coulthard is Ralf Schumacher. Yes, it was a bit of but Coulthard came through on the inside as well, so it was a little bit of a sort of an elementary mistake, but one that you do because you're so desperate to keep the other guys behind.
Well, Schumacher had passed Trulli, and Trulli was trying to do what he had done to Button a couple of laps before, duck to the inside and repass him. Unfortunately, Button was inside of him, and DC was inside of him, and there just weren't room for 4 cars in that one small space. And the shame of it is it puts Trulli out of the race. His car stalled, and that was it for Jarno.
Yeah, Jenson Button's got Rubens Barrichello all over the back of him. Ralf Schumacher just a little bit further in front of Jenson, followed by Heinz-Harald Frentzen behind. There was a shot as they came round the La Source hairpin. Work their way down to Eau Rouge. Very tricky trying to take that absolutely on the limit, and you're not sure just how dry it is.
One of the Benettons has stopped. Is that Fisichella, who has climbed from the car and in a dangerous spot there and runs across the track.
I'm out of here, boys. It's all yours, he's saying.
Yeah. And did Verstappen hit him? What Fisichella's claiming. Sure did. But had the car already, I mean, it looked like he really lost forward motion.
It looked like he wasn't going very fast when he tapped him.
No.
And I can't see why he would stop because he was hit from behind. You've got to do something pretty major to slow something down that quickly to stop. With that, he should have carried on through the chicane with the momentum, I would have thought.
I would think, unless the car was already broken.
Exactly.
So Fisichella will become the second retiree, joining Jarno Trulli. On the sidelines, his car pushed to a safe spot.
Michael Schumacher still on the very quick time, the 1:58, somewhat quicker than Mika Hakkinen.
And you can see the drying line there, and especially here at the hairpin, this has become a one-lane racetrack. You can consider anything that looks dark as not even being paved for purposes of being useful to the drivers. And as the track winds through the forest, there is so much shade that should the sun pop out, it's still not going to be of much help in drying the racing surface.
Michael Schumacher is second a lap quicker than he's catching up Mika Hakkinen, as you can see in these shots here. He needs to, because the McLaren qualified 8/10 quicker yesterday in qualifying than Michael. That is one heck of a lot. Actually, 8/10 clear of second place. A second quicker clear of Michael Schumacher. That is a lot, which shows how well that McLaren does go in dry conditions.
You see the little vapor trails there, the water condensing in the lowered air pressure off the edge of those wings. Kind of pretty to watch as the track is drying, and the competition hopefully is heating up as well. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to the Grand Prix of Belgium on Fox Sports Net. Mika Hakkinen leading Michael Schumacher as Giancarlo Fisichella walks back after having problems at the bus stop chicane. The National Sports Report comes to you nightly at 10 and 12 p.m. with internet interaction, all the news, all the highlights on the National Sports Report only on Fox Sports Net.
Jean Alesi, what a great drive. He started 17th place. He's now up to 4th. Absolutely wonderful piece of driving. Remember, of course, that he did come in before anybody else to put those dry tyres on. Even so, shows Alesi can make this car work. Get the bit between the teeth, and he goes.
Everyone talks about Schumacher's prowess in the rain, but Alesi has long been one of the best drivers in rain and in variable track conditions.
Yes, we've seen outstanding drives from him over the years in these conditions. He is a man with so much feel for a car. We've watched his hands in the cockpit. Look at it. He's only ever had one win. Canadian Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. Second place. He's had 15 of them. I mean, what a difference. But just that one win. Schumacher using all the road as he comes out of La Source hairpin, down past the pits they use for the sports car races and, of course, for the 24 hours of Spa.
And there's the gap first to second, 4.6 seconds. So Michael Schumacher is carving Derek almost a second a lap off of Haakkonen's lead.
It certainly is very close, Michael, I have to admit. He's finding it a bit tougher now, though, because Haakkonen is obviously finding his feet in these dry conditions and is showing just why he got on pole yesterday. You can see the sun is out now. It's going to dry out so fast, and the Ferrari just hasn't featured this weekend. So Michael Schumacher is driving it probably beyond its limits. Ferrari had an up-rated engine for qualifying and an up-rated engine for the race as well. Williams had up-rated engines, and they call their engine a Spa engine. It certainly worked for them. My goodness, they were well up there. That's Giancarlo Fisichella talking to the team after a very short Belgian Grand Prix.
Now Ralf Schumacher lies third, 11 seconds behind his older brother. And that was Haakkonen, the leader, who spun off course. So, my goodness.
That was a very uncharacteristic spin of Mika Haakkonen's.
You know, they reported they worked all weekend on this car to improve the balance, and every session got it better and better and better. What's happened?
Dodgy place to actually spin off coming out of the bottom at Stavler. I wouldn't have liked to spin anything coming out there. Here he's going for the bus stop. Not a nice place to do it, Mika.
And though we didn't see it, Schumacher did take the lead, and there is the gap. It's the length of the front straightaway.
Very uncharacteristic drive by Mika Hakkinen to make that. But in these conditions, as I said just now, you've only got to click that dark black stuff and you're in a heap of trouble. Schumacher has that ability, that star quality that maybe can just keep him on the grey tarmac. There goes one of the two, what do you call them? Heidfeld, should I say, one of the two Prosts. Another disaster for them. Heidfeld having qualified actually quite well.
You've really got a problem when you got smoke coming from the cockpit.
Yeah, you know that it's time to bail out.
Yeah. So now Schumacher to Hakkinen, it's about 6 seconds, and Michael continues to lower the standard for fastest lap as the track becomes ever drier.
The lap record, in fact, is 53.9 to 153.9 to Mika Hakkinen last year. So Michael Schumacher's getting on his way there. Remember, he has got quite a lot of fuel. Looks like what are we seeing here? It's a replay now of Hakkinen going off and Michael actually going by him. But we didn't get much of that either. We just assumed that Hakkinen was there somewhere. Mika was lucky not A, to hit something, or B, to go into the shingle.
Well, what a change in fortune for Ferrari. Yesterday, bemoaning the fact that they were 0.8 of a second off the McLaren, although Michael Schumacher stated he did have traffic the last two runs. He didn't indicate whether that was the entire 0.8 of a second that he lacked from Mika Hakkinen in qualifying. But now here is Schumacher leading the race. We've had no indication the reason for Hakkinen's spin, and like you folks at home, we've not seen video of it. See what the gap is this time by. From 5.6 a lap ago.
6.2 it was just before. We'll catch it any moment now. Here we go. Look, Mika loses it. I reckon he touched the curb where it's got moisture on it. Wasn't he a lucky boy? Where's Michael Schumacher going to go through? There he goes. Mika cursing all the way, but just relieved that he managed to keep the wheels running, the engine running and the wheels turning. Mika Hakkinen has never won here, and we haven't actually had a driver win from pole position here since 1991, when, of course, the great Ayrton Senna won.
The Schumacher on that lap picked up half a second on Hakkinen. The gap now stands at 6.1.
Well, you've got two drivers going for the World Championship at the front of the field.
Three wins, 8 podium finishes, 5 poles for Mika Hakkinen, and importantly, only 2 DNFs, the first 2 races of the season. While Schumacher has failed to finish 4 races, 4 of the last 6.
McLaren, I believe I'm right in saying, have gone 20 races without having technical problems and pulling out. It's absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Quite. Looking back at, I believe this is Villeneuve and Barrichello. This would be the fight for 6th.
They're still having a great race back there.
Now, Nick Heidfeld spun. That was the reason, and the engine stalled. That's the reason he is out of the race. A lot of rumors flying surrounding Heidfeld's future, perhaps moving to Sauber for next year.
Well, it's certainly been a good move from them. At least they will be speaking the same language as him at Sauber, even if it is Swiss-German. And I think the Heidfeld needs to be looked after a bit. I think, oh dear, he nearly went out off then. That was coming a little bit too fast, got it a bit locked up. I'm not sure Mika isn't having a problem maybe with a gearbox or something, because he didn't want to get into La Source hairpin. This is coming up to Les Combes, up the hill from Eau Rouge. Having a good old battle here.
Nope, still 6th place. Now they're running about half a minute behind the leaders, Villeneuve and Barrichello.
And Coulthard is making up no impression at all. Nope. Coulthard's way back there behind Hattensauer French and 34 seconds behind. As I said just now, to overtake, you've got to be very brave or very lucky to get overtake on that damp line. David can do nothing about it until the track is dry, 2 car widths wide, and it's getting that way, as you can see there.
Behind them come Frentzen in the remaining Jordan, and David Coulthard, who I think just spent way too much time out on the track on wet tires until he finally got his change made, and that's why David is down in 9th place. More importantly, out of the points, which only pay back to 6th.
Yeah, David suffered again. As you heard in our pre-race, the leading car does have the option to go in ahead, and that's what happened. Mika Hakkinen went in, had his tire changed, when I believe David should have gone in at the same time, but they didn't.
So now, by 6.5 seconds, Michael Schumacher leads on Ferrari, Mika Hakkinen for McLaren, Ralf Schumacher for Williams, Jean Alesi for Prost, Jenson Button for Williams, and Jacques Villeneuve for BAR in the points. Welcome back to the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa on Fox Sports Net. Mike Joy with Derek Bell and Peter Windsor, with whom we were discussing during the break about pit stops. Initially, we'd expected drivers at lap 20 to 21, but most of them came in at 5 to 6 laps for dry tires, and not knowing how much fuel was on board when they started, and who may or may not have taken on a full load of fuel when they stopped. Just to top off tanks, we might expect drivers at lap 25 or 26. We're on the 18th lap now. So this, I wonder, being so soon in the race to come in and change tires, if it will alter strategy greatly, Derek, for the remaining runs.
I think, well, until we know what they're doing, strategy is what it's all about. And these guys here, Jon Todt, you saw there in the Ferrari pit, along with Ross Brawn, and Ron Dennis will be there with his guys at McLaren, trying to figure out just what the best format is here. We don't know what they started on in the wet. Sometimes they probably felt the weather was going to dry out, therefore what was the point of having a heavy fuel load, because they would come in. But I don't think they expected to come in after 6 laps. I think they thought they'd come in after maybe a dozen, and therefore they'd be on a 2-stop strategy. And I think that's what most of them would have been on.
Well, this also opens up the possibility of teams short pitting on this next run with a light fuel load to take advantage of the track drying and the possibility of getting enough dry pavement on which to pass and wanting to have a light fuel load.
Well, Michael Schumacher, he's pulled away to over 10 seconds now. That is a lot. He's pulling out half a second a lap on Mika Hakkinen or more, which makes one think maybe Mika is on a lighter fuel load, or is he having problems, as I mentioned before, with his gearbox and therefore nursing it, or maybe having to miss a gear, which, of course, electronic boxes does happen.
We're told that Mika has said nothing to the team about his spin. There's been no conversation over the McLaren two-way radio.
Well, Alesi's in. See, still a lot of moisture there. Michael's going up there to keep those tyres cool, because they get a lot of tyre degradation here, so it's quite a good idea. Mika Häkkinen isn't doing the same thing. There is a Lacey come in. The tyres and, of course, fuel. Maybe on his first stop he didn't put the fuel in. Still a wonderful bit of driving by him. He should go out still in a very strong position.
He was fourth coming into the pits. And I think you're right, Derek. Since he was the first driver in, maybe a bit unexpectedly, they may not have fueled him when he took on his dry tires.
After 3 laps, so it wasn't really worth it.
No.
Interesting to see that Schumacher did run in that water going up the hill, and Mika Häkkinen didn't, because Mika couldn't see Michael doing it, because Michael had already gone out of sight. It shows a very, very intelligent driving driver when he starts to take advantage of some situations like that, just to keep those tyres cooler, to stop the tyre degradation.
Well, at the start of this race, the track was in full wet condition. They started the race single file behind the safety car. And that preliminary lap counted as a race lap. So they took off pretty much in formation order. Häkkinen, Trulli, Button, Michael Schumacher, Coulthard, and Ralf Schumacher. And then after Button and Trulli had exchanged positions at the hairpin and Trulli taken it back again, Michael Schumacher came up, passed Button, passed Trulli on the outside of the hairpin. Trulli tried to take it back on the inside. Unfortunately, Button and Ralf Schumacher were already there. Trulli getting knocked from the race. Lacey, who pitted very early for dry tires, has now come up and run as high as 4th place. And has just made his first scheduled pit stop at lap 19. So that brings us up to where Michael Schumacher now leads Mika Häkkinen by 10.3 seconds. Ralf Schumacher in 3rd for Williams as we complete 19 laps.
Beautiful shot there of Michael going through the bus stop chicane. Ooh, here we have a bit of wild driving going on here. It's one of the Saubers, Mika Salo perhaps, going past the Jag, going past Eddie Irvine.
Right.
Villeneuve and Barrichello still going at it hammer and tongs.
Out of the race, Trulli, from that incident with Button, Fisichella, and Nick Heidfeld. So one Benetton, one Prost, one Jordan by the wayside.
David Coulthard lapping 2.5 seconds off the pace of Michael Schumacher at this time, but very possibly being held there by Heinz-Harald Frentzen, slowing him down.
Activity in the Ferrari pit, Derek, and so perhaps quite a number of these teams did not choose to take on fuel when they fitted tires and are sticking to their original pit stop strategy.
Well, in some ways, it would be a good time to bring Barrichello in, because he's being held up by Jack Villeneuve. Probably not the correct word, held up, but he's certainly not getting past him. And it might be quite a good idea, as Schumacher has actually gone by the pits. It'd be a good time to bring Barrichello in, so he gets a clear bit of road, make a really quick stop. We'll see shortly as they work their way up the hill to the bus stop. Here they go through Blanchimont, flat out corner, 185 miles an hour. Up into the bus stop now. Will Barrichello go straight on here? Yes, he does. Barrichello comes in the pits.
So that gets him away from Jacques Villeneuve, and that is confirmed, as you pointed out, Derek, as to why they're bringing him in at this time. Get him some clear track to run in.
Superb stop. Wow. 6.6 seconds. That's really good. But it makes you realise, of course, that they're there for a 2-stop strategy, because he came in on lap 20, which, of course, was early, but I don't think he could certainly run the rest of the race.
And activity now in the BAR pit.
Although it is, of course, only a 44-lap race, so they're nearly halfway. But they didn't really take enough fuel on, I'd have said then, to go to the end of the race on a 6-second stop.
Again, the three drivers out of the race thus far: Heidfeld, Fisichella, and Trulli. Well, then again, they could be short pitting Barrichello on a fairly light load, and then make that so he can get some clear track to run in, and then make that final stop and go the distance.
I would have thought McLaren would have done the same for David Coulthard myself, although of course he did come in a long time after the others did, or 2 laps after all the others. I would have thought he might have come in to get him past or get him some free road, because he's obviously not doing very much there behind Frenzen, to say lapping in 57s, and Michael's lapping in low 55s.
Coulthard 45 seconds behind the race leader.
See, he's really all over the back of that car of Frenzen.
Yep.
Yes, they didn't sort of gain any friendship points between them in qualifying yesterday when they had each other a couple of times there, so they're not going to give any way here either, that's for sure. But look how close they are as they go to La Source hairpin.
And now Ferrari setting up for Schumacher. But yes, it's just got to be devastating to Coulthard's championship hopes to leave him pinned behind Frentzen here. Unless that's all the car's capable of, which is kind of hard to believe.
No, he could pull away, I believe. I'm sure he can. You watch him under braking. Just look at him catching up there under braking. You see him into the bus stop. You see him to Lake Com there at the top of the hill. Only 2 cars did a one-stop strategy last year. One was Jacques Villeneuve, the other Ralf Schumacher, and Ralf actually finished 5th. So it makes you wonder whether anybody is doing the same this year. Here he goes, Michael in.
Well, he turns back an 11-second lead over Mika Hakkinen to make this stop. And here at only lap 22, I guess theoretically it could be his last stop, but it doesn't seem like it would be according to plan. Taking to fuel.
Yeah, he took a long stop, far too long a stop, but he may well have a full tank of fuel. It really is down to tyre degradation, and they'll have to make the decision after this stop just how well his tyres or how badly his tyres have just fared.
Well, very differing strategies for Ferrari, who got Rubens in and out with very little fuel added in just 6.6 seconds, and Schumacher is very obviously taking it on full tank. Well, there's Heinz and DC once again going at it.
Yeah. Michael pulled out in front of one of it. He's behind, looks like he's behind his brother.
So Michael Schumacher pits as the leader, and this race changes hands again. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Fox Sports Net coverage of the Belgium Grand Prix. Watching Ralf Schumacher, who moves up to 2nd place behind Mika Hakkinen, following the pit stop by Ralph's older brother Michael. He finds himself now in 3rd place, 3.7 behind Ralph's Williams BMW, and yet 13 seconds up on Jenson Button's similar car.
Now, the intriguing thing to me is just what they did. They took a long time with that refueling, filling it right to the very brim. I would have thought he didn't seem to have a problem getting it off. The fact is, of course, it might not have been going in when he thought it was. But he certainly did have a long stop. Didn't really cost him that much. He might have come out ahead of his brother, that's all, if he'd done a 7-seconder, but it would have been touch and go. But really the critical point is, will he have to stop again? And they've got half distance. They're over half distance now. He probably can just about scratch by, but as I've mentioned before, there is a lot of tyre degradation here, and the Ferrari basically always uses more tyres than the McLaren.
Well, earlier we saw Michael going offline to get some water on those tires to help cool them and save them. But now, Derek, looking at the racetrack, it looks like there's fewer and fewer places where he might be able to do that.
Yes, he's going to find it much more difficult to cool them down, and right at this point, it probably isn't that important.
Jacques Villeneuve is in. And this would be a scheduled stop for the BAR. Villeneuve sat on the pole here, but 96 and 97. A lot of fuel going in, and this looks as if this may be his final stop.
Yes, he was second in 96 and fifth in 97. He got fastest lap as well, having got pole in 97.
So for many of the front runners, this may well be a two-stop race, the first dictated by the changing weather condition. But it all depends on how tires hold up. As we mentioned, Bridgestone brought a new intermediate and a heavy rain tire here. The soft compound tire for the dries shows very good grip, but the Bridgestone engineers said it would be noticeably quicker but would show a higher level of wear. So the medium tires they thought would be the choice and would counteract. But also the tire engineers thought that this race would be run with two equally spaced pit stops, and I don't think anticipated anybody going 22 or 24 laps on a single set of tires. We shall see.
David Coulthard really needs to get by, friends, and he's actually got in 6th place, so he's in point playing position, but not quite the points David needed, having looked so strong in the World Championship.
Ralf Schumacher is in, surrendering 3rd place.
Second, actually.
That's right, sorry.
Surrendering second to his brother. 8.9, so he probably took, well, he took enough fuel on for the rest of the race, I would have thought. Michael Schumacher there running up the moisture parts again, as you said before, Michael, trying to keep those tires cool. He does use his head, that man does. When he needs to use that brain of his, he really does.
The Schumacher brothers did their early racing at the family's go-kart track in Kerpen, Germany, where recently Michael and Ralph laid the cornerstone for what they don't describe as a museum, but rather a collection of their racing trophies, memorabilia, and early race cars. So with Ralf Schumacher having stopped, giving up 2nd place, now activity at Williams for Jenson Button, who has run really a masterful race here in 4th place. Started 3rd, got into that bump with Jarno Trulli. Not really of his fault, racing accident, and Trulli did say to the press, he said, well, it was just a misunderstanding. It was two young drivers fighting hard, so no animosity there. Alexander Wirtz is in.
McLaren just hung a board out to Mika Hakkinen saying push. I'm sure that means get on it, not you've got push. I'm sure he's well aware he's got push. Michael going through the chicane. Michael actually not rushing that hard. He's running the same sort of times as Hakkinen, if not a bit slower. But makes you wonder whether he's trying to conserve... Well, we know he's trying to conserve the tyres because he's running in the moisture wherever he can. But he needs to see this car run to the end of it. If he was going to do another stop after 10 laps, because there's only 20 to go, he would be running flat out on the dry. So he's obviously trying to keep that car going, knowing that he doesn't want to make another stop. Jenson Button is in the Williams pit. Here he comes. This is one of the few tracks that Jenson Button has driven at in the past. He drove Formula 3 here, but quite a contrast from 200 horsepower to 780. I still can't get over the way this young man has adapted to Formula 1 and driven with such composure. Hasn't made any mistakes. Nobody comes in saying, have you seen him out there? He's an absolute animal. He's going to have a big crash. He's so under control. Absolutely astounding, the sensation of the season.
He certainly is. Now here's Coulthard again, catching up Frentzen.
David somehow has got to get up Eau Rouge, up the hill quicker, but of course because of the turbulence behind the car, slipstreaming is not that possible, and therefore he loses out.
All right, last time by, Mika Hakkinen had a 14.6 second lead on Michael Schumacher. They are setting up for Hakkinen to pit this time, and Derek, I don't see how he can get up and down the pit lane. The pit lane is so long, it's such a long pit entry, that he'd almost certainly give the lead back to Michael on this stop.
He will, if he goes in at this point, he will come out sort of some 8 seconds behind.
This battle is for 5th place.
Still can't believe why they don't bring Coulthard in, but again, he did come in 2 laps after Hakkinen before. Mika's in. see
De La Rosa also.
Let's see if they can do a really good stop here on Häkkönen's car.
He won't need to take on as much fuel. So this should be a bit shorter, 8.2, 8.8.
Not a bad stop, but he only really lost 3 seconds, or gained 3 seconds over Schumacher on that stop. But Michael should have gone by. Now that was an Arrows in front there and an Arrows behind him. The Arrows had a quicker stop by the look of it.
Yeah, De La Rosa.
Yeah, De La Rosa's stop was quicker in the Arrows. There's Michael keeping to the moisture, going up the hill into Les Combes. Well, they've changed Mika Häkkönen's differential settings on the car, we've heard, which might be something to do with the fact he wasn't finding it too easy there earlier. Now, Michael's got through the first of the Benetton there, one of the Benettons, which would be Alexander Wirtz. Let's hope he doesn't get held up here by one of the two Minardis, which in this case is Mazzacani. This is where you don't need to be held up. There's a clear sweep of corners here, coming down to Stavelot.
Now, when you say they changed the differential, did they change the amount of lockup, amount of limited slip in the differential?
That's what I imagine they do. And of course, it's all done electronically these days.
So Michael Schumacher now leads from Mika Häkkinen after Mika's pit stop. We'll be back to Spa in a moment. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Well, unbelievably, as Coulthard comes in, so does Frentzen. Both pitting at once. See who can get out quicker.
David's got to get out quicker. He's to get some very, very valuable points here. Come on, guys, get that car going. Come on, that's a good stop, good stop. Oh, he's out ahead. Yeah, good stop. Well done, McLaren. Very good piece of work there. Not so good by the Jordan guys.
An 8.6-second stop there for Frentzen.
That's what David dearly needed, to go out just ahead of one of the Jags, followed by Jack Villeneuve behind.
It should be Herbert, I believe.
Should be Herbert, yeah.
Well, that's a great stop for Coulthard. And it'll put him in position to reclaim 4th place.
It's so lovely we're in this situation to actually find the track drying out and you actually gradually start to go faster and faster. But the conditions have changed because yesterday it was so hot and dry. Suddenly your car is working that much better. The tyres aren't degrading as badly because it's cooler. And the whole thing becomes a real blast to the finish. And you really, really enjoy situations like that.
So there's Coulthard now posted 7th after that round after those pit stops. For he and Frentzen. And give a call to Johnny Herbert up for 8th. Good run for Johnny. And Johnny said he's pretty well set. He's got a couple of possibilities to drive in kart next year. There's a lot of driver change movement going on in kart. He says that benefits his situation. But not everybody is convinced he's done with Formula One.
No, there is talk, isn't there, of him perhaps going to Sauber. And I don't think that would be a bad move for him at all.
No?
He was there, I think, in '97, something like that. Before he went to Stewart. There's Michael Schumacher, of course, running on the moisture on that side there to try and keep it wet. Try and keep his tyres wet, should I say. You can see Mika Häkkinen behind the Benetton behind.
So he has Wirtz splitting himself from Häkkinen, and that should be Marc Genet just ahead.
And in fact, Mika has been pulling up a little bit on Michael Schumacher on these first 2 laps, but of course he was on completely fresh tyres.
And there is trouble for Mazzacani.
Didn't get out the pit lane. He came in and then couldn't start it. No. Or couldn't get a gear, possibly.
Johnny Herbert has pitted his Jaguar.
Michael Schumacher doesn't need this being held up here. He needs to get cleanly past these back markers as Genet drifted all over the road.
Blue flags waving.
Yes, he's had some problem before in this team with overtaking at the last race and got into trouble, did Genet. So maybe this time he'll pull over quickly, which he did. Gaps dropping very quickly between Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen, losing half a second a lap.
Schumacher now free of Genet. He had 5 seconds on Hakkinen, make that 4.3 seconds last time by. And he did take some time lapping past Genet. So there's the update, 3.8. Hakkinen closing.
Great shot as he goes through the bus stop with the Ferrari.
Trying to straighten out that chicane as much as possible.
It really is a vicious chicane, that is.
Well, silly season includes not only talk of driver changes, but also of perhaps a schedule change and maybe a qualifying session on Friday in addition to one on Saturday. How about that, Peter?
Yes, a lot of discussion about the future of practice and qualifying at the Belgian Grand Prix. Bernie Ecclestone made an announcement to the Belgian press on the Wednesday before this race to the effect that next year it's possible that qualifying times would be taken from both Friday and Saturday. In other words, Friday would become an official qualifying day, just as Saturday is currently, and the best times would be taken from the 2 days. When asked about this, however, both Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard expressed the opinion that there was too much driving anyway, and it would be better just to have Saturday and Sunday, a 2-day weekend with no driving at all on Friday. Derek, interested to get your input on that one.
Well, I have to say, I mean, we're out there to entertain, and I think it's pretty tough on the circuit owners when they can only put on the stars of the year for 2 days. I think they deserve 3 days. I think they've got to formulate that better somehow.
So it could well happen. Eddie Irvine has been in for Jaguar, so now we have Schumacher leading Hakkinen. Ralf Schumacher, there's the gap, 3.6, and the gap comes down further because Hakkinen had no trouble lapping Marc Genet. He caught him. Genet moved right over at the very first corner. Hakkinen sped on past. So that's been very much of the difference until they both get out in the clear as they are now, Derek. We really don't know how much is the difference between Schumacher and Hakkinen's 2 cars at this stage.
Well, there's 13 laps to go. Catching Michael Schumacher is one thing, but overtaking him is another. You can see there the difference between them. It isn't too much, 3.19 seconds, 3.2 in effect. We've said, I've said that, of course, and we've seen it, that Hakkinen was quicker all through the weekend. Every practice session, he's been quickest. He was quicker on Friday. He was quicker in warm-up this morning, and he was quickest in qualifying. So we know that the McLaren is quicker. And the Ferrari's never really gone outstandingly well at Spa. But Michael Schumacher has got that ability and that quality to maybe just keep ahead. There's another 12.5 very tough laps to go for Michael Schumacher.
Yep, he's done so well here with 4 wins in the record book, and of course 1994 when he was disqualified for the plank, the under tray plank being ground down and disqualified. Ayrton Senna 5 wins, Jim Clark 4, Michael Schumacher 4 here at Spa.
And as we said, Mika Hakkinen never won here. I was at the Autosport 50th anniversary evening 3 days ago in London, and I was talking with Joe Ramirez, one of the leading lights within the McLaren team, who used to be with us at Porsche years ago, and he was saying how Mika's temperament has totally changed when he suddenly found himself getting back in the points again. He's there at the crack of dawn for testing. He's been really trying to make it work to get into Fangio's record of 3 straight Formula One World Championship victories.
Autosport, it's a little hard to find on American newsstands. You may find it at your local Barnes & Noble or Borders, and it's the world's leading English language weekly racing publication. And highly recommended reading, as is F1 Racing Magazine, which is a monthly. Peter Windsor is a contributing editor of F1. And both those are on our must-read list every issue.
Well, it does cover all the sports, not only Formula One. Formula One, obviously, Formula One Magazine Monthly covers Formula One, but Autosport covers all sports incredibly well, all American sports too.
A little easier to find here, of course. National Speed Sport News has Dan Knutson's writings every week, and Dan also provides a lot of the statistical support to us at Fox Sports Net. The Arrows runs wide, and the Jaguar moves underneath. Still a Rosa getting overtaken.
Mika Hakkinen coming up behind Michael now. Michael giving everything he knows. You're seeing the greatest 2 drivers in the world today giving everything they've got. Mika Hakkinen just inching in there.
Getting close. That was Verstappen who went by De La Rosa, and a lot of Dutch fans here at Spa. So Michael Schumacher leads from Mika Hakkinen, but the gap is narrowing.
Welcome back to the Foster's Belgian Grand Prix. I'm in the back of the Ferrari garage. Michael Schumacher going through a typically methodical weekend. It began on Thursday when most drivers were out on this semi-permanent road course, driving their engineers around, showing them the turn-in points, the braking points, the important parts of the circuit. Michael was on a little motor scooter, and he wasn't just taking the racing line. He was going up on the curbs, and then he was going beyond the curbs onto the grass, no doubt to feel what bits of grass he could perhaps use if he had to in the race. Bit bumpy here, bit soft here, harder here. Yeah, I can use that bit of grass. Typical Michael Schumacher.
Absolutely amazing. Here comes Rubens Barrichello going very slowly as he comes up towards the pits. Looks like there's a problem with that car, that's for sure. But going back to Michael Schumacher, it just shows the measure of the man, that he does go to such lengths to try and cover every eventuality if he has to use all the road or more.
Well, this will put paid to Barrichello's championship hopes. He was fourth coming in. Waves off assistance there, and looks as if his day is through. He was 15 points out of the championship. Still a dark horse, a long shot. And now the marshal is being waved away from the car. And now they said, okay, let's push it in. Don't touch it, he's saying.
He's trying to get it started to run it out from the pits. The mechanics can push it once he's in the pit lane. But he's a long way up there, and it's a long way down.
Since he still has hopes of continuing in the race, he told the marshals to leave off the car and not assist.
Yeah,
I guess
push it. There was another stop too.
Alesi.
After a magnificent drive, Alesi was down in 10th place. Here he goes into the bus stop chicane, and it quits just as he turns in.
Oh, what a shame.
That is shame. Poor old Prost. Well, of course, there's the talks that Prost may well get Ferrari engines next year. It's going to cost him something like $20 million or $19 million for the pleasure of having Ferrari one-year-old engines, rather like Sauber does, but it could certainly keep Prost alive as far as running his own team.
And Rubens Barrichello, who has scored points in the last 8 races, including his victory in Germany, is, for all practical purposes, out of this race.
10 very hard laps remaining here. Michael Schumacher still trying to find that moisture to keep those tires cool. Mika Hakkinen doesn't worry about it.
And every time he goes offline and takes the long way around, Hakkinen edges ever closer.
He does seem to, doesn't he? Here's Rubens now got to his pit.
Tried to reset some electronics.
Turn the engine over.
Nope, that's it.
That's it, I'm out of here.
That's a shame.
That's 2 finishes for Rubens Barrichello in the last 7 Spas. That's not a great result. And it sort of almost reflected in his position on the grid and his practice sessions. Not at all happy here, rather like Eddie Irvine has not been running that well. He's running 10th now. Herbert's still in front of him.
And he's only scored 1 point here, that back in 1995. So here's the lead battle, and Hakkinen continues to draw closer. He's got it down under 2 seconds now. Schumacher trying to take care of his tires. Michael Schumacher pitted 4 laps before Hakkinen, so he has 4 extra race laps on his tires to Hakkinen's.
Michael won't be looking much in his mirrors, just an odd glimpse, and then after that he's going to go for it all the way. John Alesi's walking back after a very, very fine race by him.
But it's happened all too often, Derek, that he's had to take that walk, and we've had to say, oh, what a shame. What a great race, and it comes undone.
Yeah. I think it's worthy of note at this point that the great American Dan Gurney stored the American racing team's only ever Grand Prix win at at Spa in 1967. Quite something, eh?
And to date, the only win by an American driver in an American Formula One car.
Absolutely.
The Eagle. We hope to visit with Dan in Indianapolis at the United States Grand Prix in September, which you'll see practice, qualifying, and the race live here on Fox Sports Net.
David Coulthard there all over the back of Jenson Button, trying to get by Jenson. He had a real go at the hairpin, La Source. Now they're working their way up the hill. We're seeing Jenson Button extended. This young man still doing great times.
And the key to this was Coulthard getting out of the pits in front of Frentzen when they both pitted at the same time. And Coulthard has now gone 9 seconds up on Frentzen.
Very frustrating for David. This is frustrating too, but he is lying there. He's at the moment 5th in the points, but dearly he would like 4th place in the points. When you consider where he was earlier, in 9th place, he's done a great job.
But hasn't Button had just a wonderful race?
Well, a wonderful weekend for him. He just said the track is outrageous. He's driven it in Formula 3, but then to drive it in Formula 1, he said, was outrageous. I just love the way his sort of free, open, easy way of talking. He's so astounded by his success. This open-eyed youthfulness is outrageous to me.
It's great. And if he's this good now, Derek, wait till he comes back and sees all these tracks for the second time next year.
Well, that's right. I mean, Juan Pablo Montoya is outstanding kart driver, and we've seen how well he went in testing with Williams. But did Frank Williams make a mistake here? I mean, this guy's now got will have a full season of Formula 1 under his belt, and as yet hasn't made any silly mistakes. He's been terribly, terribly composed the whole way through. And I wonder if Frank Williams is making the right decision myself, but there we go. Great for Juan Montoya, and great for us to have him over in Formula 1.
And as Frank said in the interview, you know, Jenson can go tear up somebody else. Well, he didn't say tear up somebody else's stuff for the next 2 years, but Benetton can groom him, and then Williams has the chance to get him back in 2 years' time. So Button runs 4th behind Michael Schumacher, Mika Hakkinen, and Ralf Schumacher. Welcome back to the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, where David Coulthard has just put the pass on Jenson Button, and that exchanges 4th place. Coulthard and Mika Hakkinen have set a record of sorts. The most races by 2 drivers as teammates. Gerhard Berger and Jean Alesi at Ferrari and then Benetton between 1993 and 97 started 77 races as teammates. Today marks 78 by Hakkinen and Coulthard.
It also equals 25 wins by teammates, the other 2 being Senna and Prost, believe it or not.
Yes. Mika Hakkinen has Michael Schumacher in his sights. Officially, it's 1 second. But there's the distance. The biggest question is how much tire does Schumacher have left? He pitted 4 laps before Hakkinen, goes way wide to catch that water. I don't think he'll be able to do that again, Derek, without losing the lead.
Well, of course, he just doesn't have the speed up the hill. The McLaren seems to be able to run less swing, less downforce, and still get the geometry and the incredible mechanical grip they get out of this car. Michael then can ease away a little bit through some of the corners. But the McLaren does have that speed, and often they do take off some wing for the races, so they do have the speed because the car is just so good mechanically.
Let's have a look at David Coulthard's pass of Jenson Button, this for 4th place.
Coming up the hill, and he just goes round. Jenson keeps the right to block him out, but David just goes by. The brakes, as we know, on that McLaren are outstanding. Shot there of Ron Dennis, the owner, if you like, the mastermind behind McLaren.
Ralf Schumacher is 28 seconds behind this pair. David Coulthard a further 14 seconds back. Jenson Button, Heinz-Harald Frentzen right now in 6th, and Jacques Villeneuve in 7th. Johnny Herbert is 8th. Mika Salo and Eddie Irvine, the top 10.
Michael Schumacher still has a better fastest lap than Mika Hakkinen. Mika really catches him up here and up into the hairpin, but Michael then eases away around the rest of the lap. And Mika really has to hope that Michael makes a mistake. One of his very rare mistakes is what he needs, because I think he's going to find it desperately hard to do anything about it. He goes down the hill here. Look at how much push Mika has, and Michael gets away with better traction. Look at that. He pulled out several car lengths there going down the hill. And this is where Mika does not want to be too close behind, because the turbulence as he goes up the hill.
Well, in the point championship, whoever wins this race will leave here with the World Championship lead, or at least tied for it should Schumacher prevail. There's a comparison of their last 3 laps. You see Hakkinen getting right there, right up and underneath the rear wing of Schumacher.
Well,
what a battle.
Well, the McLaren just has slightly better brakes, as I said just now about David. But we've seen that many times before. We saw it in the French Grand Prix too, with David Coulthard overtaking people. It has fantastic brakes, and this is the advantage they have over the Ferrari. But Michael just has that extra bit of grip through the turns, whether it's because of his ability or the fact his car just works better through certain of the faster corners. There's no doubt about it that Mika would get away if he was in front. Ross Brawn, who works so closely with Michael, they will no doubt be talking on the radio, even at this stage of the race. Coulthard's laps are somewhat slower than the leading guys, or the leading pair.
And that's all that separate the front two as the laps wind right down. Ralf Schumacher 30 seconds back now. Not a factor, nor is Coulthard.
Tricky bit of back marker there. We think we have a Minardi in the way. Let's hope it's not too much in the way. They'll pick him up going down the hill. This is what could really upset the cart here if Michael has to back off a little bit going down to Eau Rouge behind a Minardi. Backs off and Mika can then know. Yes, he's going to get in the way.
That's Mazzacani just ahead.
He could well get in the way on the way up the hill. That's all that Hakkinen needs, is that, and this is what you dream for as a driver. Oh, it probably won't happen. No, it's not going to be a disadvantage to Schumacher. Although Mika is very close going up the hill. Yes, he's closer than he usually is. Michael did have to back off. Now Hakkinen's going to take a look down the inside under braking, is he? He's got to take him on the outside. Is he going to have a look? No, Michael doesn't let him. Michael gives the swerve. They still didn't go by Mazzacani. You've got to do that. When you're in that position, man, you've got to use everything in the book. This is Formula One racing at its best. Come on, get out of the way in that darn Minardi. Bless his heart, makes up the grid, but it shouldn't be holding these guys up. Come on, that's it, get over. Well, he's getting over now. Michael gets away, but that was a nasty moment or two there for Schumacher. Just 4 laps to go.
And it'll be that Zonta just ahead.
Oh,
who certainly is keeping better pace than the Minardi was.
Zonta that pushed Michael up the rear end, of course, in the Austrian Grand Prix. Really got him going on this stream of bad luck races that he's been having. See, Michael can then start to pull away a little bit. It's quite astonishing how he does start to ease away through those intermediate corners. Then they're way on the way up back hill. Now there's the old circuit coming in from the left. Here we are, let's watch it again. Michael moves over, he sees Mika doing it. You've got to have your wits about you at this point, haven't you? He's holding Mika up. Mika's going to dart back the other side. Mika gets on the dirt. Michael goes back a little bit.
Jeez.
Sorry about that, Mika, but I ain't letting you through, and I don't blame him either, nor would I, nor would anybody else.
Probably the best bit of mirror driving we've seen this season.
Yeah, that was pretty close stuff, because I think he was looking in his mirror far more than he was out front.
Right.
Now we got Zonta is going to get in the way probably, but not until after they reach the top of the hill. Mika really coming up the hill very, very quickly behind Michael now. His tyres, look at it. He's right there. Michael's really got to keep to that inside line. Mika's, whoa,
dear. Surprise! And Hakkinen gets there.
What a move by Hakkinen. What a move. Outstanding move by Hakkinen.
Unbelievable.
How did he do that? Outstanding move.
Schumacher thought he waited till the last minute and moved aside to use Zonta as a pick. Hakkinen just kept coming on the inside.
Hey,
unbelievable
amazing piece of work by Mika Hakkinen. You have to say that. 3 laps to go. I said it was a thrilling race. We have 2 drivers here hell-bent on being world champion this year.
Well, and we may be seeing what is the most thrilling race of the millennium, and I don't care if you call it December 31st, 99 or December 31st, 2000.
Here we go again. Look at them coming up behind Zonta. Zonta's right in the middle of the road, not holding anybody up. Michael goes down there, but oops, sorry about that. Mika's there too. And Michael does nothing about trying to push him off. He says, in his mind, his brain's going, I need the points anyway.
Well, when he came around, Zonta took the long way around.
Yeah.
And let's give Zonta some credit. He held his line, middle of the racetrack, and they split him. What a move by Hakkinen.
3 laps remaining.
Well, and actually, December 31st, 2000 is the marking of the millennium, but, you know, any excuse for a party, and they'll have one at McLaren this evening if this keeps up. We'll be right back. At Spa, Michael Schumacher twice did the shoey swerve on Mika Hakkinen, and the second time found himself out in the air and now holding second place.
Yes, he should have really kept that inside move and gone down the inside, but he thought he was pushing Zonta across the road enough that Mika couldn't get through, but he surely did. Brother Ralph now in third place. Great piece of driving. Haven't talked about him much this race, but a great piece of driving by Ralph.
And what a turnaround in fortunes for Williams. After having a hapless season last year, now with BMW power, everyone thought this would be what's graciously called a rebuilding year for Williams. And yet they've had real good fortune now with Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button both in the points today.
Well, of course, this is what Jaguar, I think, had plans on doing, but it didn't quite work out that way, and they must eat in their hearts out that they didn't get the results that Williams are getting.
No, they certainly made the big splash, but didn't get the result. Johnny Herbert running back in 8th, Mika Salo 9th, Eddie Irvine 10th. Not a good day for Jaguar. And Salo, it's tipped, is going to leave Formula One to go to Toyota and spend next year testing and then race for them. After the checkered flag, trophies, champagne, and what should be a very interesting press conference. Should Mika and Michael end up side by side? There'll be lots to talk about.
Well, Michael knows very well that the McLaren has been faster all weekend. Michael knows it. And I don't think he'll say anything unfair about Mika. If anybody anything unfair, it was him trying to keep him behind previous couple of laps. But that, as I said, that was motor racing. When you're going for the World Championship, you don't just give up like that and say, after you, Claude.
No.
This is not snooker.
No, and the corner was fairly won by Hakkinen. After he'd seen that move from Schumacher before. It really was a brilliant pass because, as we've said many times over these last couple of seasons, that these cars are so dependent on aerodynamic grip. Had Hakkinen merely to follow Schumacher around and make a fair pass, absent of traffic, it would have been very difficult, if not impossible. Yeah, even with a faster car.
Yeah, I think, you know, Michael had it covered if he hadn't had Zonta in the way, or Zonta to add to the equation, and Michael just read it, didn't work the way he wanted it to work, so he's ended up in second place. And as you can see, Hakkinen can pull away a little bit now. Michael can't do anything about it. He can't answer back, because we've seen that Mika Hakkinen was 1 second quicker than Michael in qualifying yesterday. And you just can't beat that. I mean, 1 second is too much. McLaren has been dominant all weekend. Ferrari aren't having it good here.
And McLaren will extend their lead in the Constructors' Championship. Barrichello out of the race for Ferrari. So with only Michael to score points and both McLarens in the point, they will move up quite a bit. Final time around. The arrows gives way. That should be De La Rosa. So both McLaren and Williams are going to put 2 cars in the points today, with Schumacher's Ferrari and then the final point going to Frenson's Jordan.
Yeah, very valuable constructors' points there for Williams. I tell you what, when you win this race, is the most fabulous feeling of having achieved something great in motorsport, because it is a demanding track to beat all others, in my opinion. I guess winning Indianapolis would be compared to it. It is, of course, a totally different type of track, but somehow winning at Spa is exceptional.
We mentioned Frentzen briefly. He's going to get his 5th finish in his last 7 races, including 2/3, 2/4, and now a 6th. So Mika Hakkinen, who started this race from pole, gave up the lead to Michael Schumacher, will now come back and pick up his 5th victory, equaling last year's total. Trying to become only the 2nd man in Formula One history to win 3 consecutive world championships. And I'm corrected, this is 4th win today. To Schumacher's 5, David Coulthard's 3, and Barrichello's 1.
Through the bus stop chicane for the last time.
A masterful performance by Mika Hakkinen, who wins the Belgian Grand Prix over Michael Schumacher by just about 2 seconds.
Yeah, brilliant piece of driving by Mika. Of course, they got to slow down pretty quickly to get in that part Ferme. Superb driving by Mika Hakkinen. You have to say that Schumacher did so well with certainly an underperforming car to keep ahead as long as he did. Beautiful strategy by Ross Brawn and the team.
Ralf Schumacher will come around for 3rd.
Excellent drive by Ralf Schumacher yet again.
Equals his best finish of the season back in Australia in the season opener. David Coulthard will come by for 4th. Then Jenson Button and Heinz-Harald Frentzen will be right back. The Grand Prix of Belgium on Fox Sports Net has been brought to you by Toyota. Toyota, making it happen every day. Mika Hakkinen, a winner for McLaren over Michael and Ralf Schumacher, David Coulthard, Jenson Button, Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Also classed as finishers, Villeneuve, Herbert, Salo, Irvine, Denitz, and Zonta. The top dozen, Wirtz, Genet, Verstappen, De La Rosa, and Mazzacani. It gives Hakkinen a 6-point lead in the Drivers' Championship over Schumacher. Coulthard falls to 13 back. Rubens Barrichello all but out of it. Ralf Schumacher and Fisichella. I look back through the rest of those who have earned points after 13 rounds.
And in the constructors' points, well, McLaren Mercedes streaking ahead away with 125 to 117 of Ferrari. Williams at 30, Benetton 18, Jordan 13, BA Honda at 12. Sauber at 6, Arrows at 4, and Jaguar at 3.
Well, let's see what emotions are expressed on the podium after a wonderful drive by Mika Hakkinen, besting Michael Schumacher. A final pass on the racetrack to ensure victory here in Belgium. right, congratulations for Michael Schumacher and a very jubilant Mika Hakkinen.
Yes, most certainly. And Ralf Schumacher not too sure there, but he did a brilliant job, I thought. And I'm not going to try and pronounce that name there, Michael, are you?
No, thanks.
But he's a local man.
To the winning to Adrian Newey, Technical Director of West McLaren Mercedes, by Richard W. Scully, Managing Director of Foster's Brewing International.
Adrian Newey deserves that trophy. What an amazing man.
To the second place driver, Michael Schumacher, the trophy presented by Didier.
You can tell who's the most popular driver there, that's for sure. The Spa not far from Michael's home.
And to the third place driver, Ralf Schumacher, the trophy presented by Baron Charles de Fil-en-Dorme, President of the RACB. Le président du RACB, le baron Charles de Fil-en-Dorme, remet au troisième, Ralf Schumacher. And of course, that maintains Williams' record here at Spa. Gentlemen, at your feet.
And here we go.
The champagne.
We'll be back to find out how the race was won at the driver's press conference after this. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Spa, where Mika Hakkinen's 18th career victory and 4th win of the season must rank as one of his most memorable. Let's find out.
It's welcome to the first three in the Belgium Grand Prix 2000, Mika Hakkinen, Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher. Mika, starting with you, it was an absolutely incredible race to watch. What was it like to be part of it and win it?
Well, it was incredible. It was incredible. It was very difficult, unusual situations, including my spin was not obviously planned. But the curbs here in Spa are very, very difficult, very slippery. And when they catch you, it's nothing what you can really do. I was lucky to stay on the track and able to continue, and I was able to start changing Michael. But it was a fabulous race to drive and really enjoyable, and the car was better and better all the time.
As a consequence of the spin that you just mentioned, you made up for it with an absolutely spectacular and heart-stopping overtaking manoeuvre. Can you talk us through that?
Yes, it was quite a different one. Normally that kind of situation is unusual to overtake somebody on a straight line when the back marker is between us. And I knew that way following Michael, it's no point to try to follow him and then try to overtake him and at the straight, because obviously he's not going to give me a room. Is correct?
Yeah, that makes it difficult.
So I took the plan B and I went completely inside and overtook the back marker, and at the same time overtook the Michael, and I could tow also from the back marker, so it gave me extra speed, and it was great overtaking maneuver, and I loved it. I'm not sure if the Michael did.
Thank you. Nice. Thank you, Mika. Michael Schumacher, we saw you going on to the right-hand side to the climb to Les Combes, obviously cooling your tyres down. Was that the reason why Mika actually caught you up?
No, that was not the reason. Actually helped me a little bit to go away from him in the first part of the race, as I was building up my lead, honestly. But later on, that was not enough, because he was flying towards me, being so much faster that nothing would have helped.
We were talking about the overtaking manoeuvre with Mika. How was it from your viewpoint?
Obviously, I was quite lucky or happy to see this backmarker in front of me, because I knew I was a lot slower on the straight line speed from what the team told me. So being in slipstream of the guy in front of me, I thought it will not be enough for him to catch me. And then obviously once there's somebody on the same road, then normally there's only two cars that fit next to each other. But Mika did really an outstanding maneuver to pass on the inside there, because that was unexpected for my side. But honestly, if he wouldn't have catched me there, I think he would have catched me a lap or two later, because he was too fast down there, and you allowed to move once the line, and he would have taken me on the outside, to my view. I tried my best. It was not enough today, but we got 6 points, and we keep the championship alive, even though we made it a little bit more difficult today, but we will keep going for it. I mean, it's not the end now.
Thank you very much, Michael. Ralf Schumacher, the ever-improving Williams, you're third today. Do you think as the season goes on you might be able to get a win?
Well, I think certainly we thought that we were close today in rain conditions. That would have been the only chance for us to be relatively close to the top, I thought. But we saw today that Mika was outstandingly quick and compared to anybody else basically. So that was not possible. We're working on it, obviously. I think we are definitely the third team in the World Championship now. We try to stay there and get some more good podium or points finishes.
How was your car today in these mixed conditions, because you didn't have much time in the warm-up, obviously?
We were pretty much prepared for the rain, so we had a sort of medium setup, which I must say was pretty good. I mean, except the two in front of us and some other just before they pitted, we were relatively quick, so I could stay ahead of Kurt. I had a little bit of a problem towards the end, so I thought the race was over. It was 4 laps or 5 laps to go. I had a throttle problem, so I went into a turn and nothing happened anymore. It was like fuel out, but it was throttle. But it came back alive, and luckily till the end.
Thank you very much, Ralf. Mika, back to you. Next, we're down to Monza and Ferrari territory. Do you think you can silence the Tifosi and keep your championship lead?
We will have a testing next week, first of all, in Monza, which is important, particularly because the circuit has been modified now. So it's going to be a little bit learning in the first day to understand that corner and to find the best out of it. And then when we have finished those test days, I hope in those days we're able to find the best possible setup and performance of the car the coming Monza Grand Prix, and I'm seeing all the possibilities to be there quick and challenging podium places and hopefully winning to Monza. But again, it's better to enjoy now and to concentrate to the next Grand Prix tomorrow.
Okay, thank you and congratulations. Now a word from all three.
So there will be a party and celebration tonight of Mika Häkkinen's win in Spa. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Two weeks from today, the Italian Grand Prix, which most of you will see at noon your local time. But please have a close look at this graphic for the exceptions and check your local listings. Well, plan B certainly worked, Derek.
Yes, it was a brilliant move by him, and it's obviously totally surprised Michael Schumacher, but Michael very honestly and openly said he was going to be overtaken anyway, although I somehow doubted that. But
I wonder.
I didn't think it was going to be easy for Mika at all.
Moot point, as Mika Häkkinen is the winner of the Foster's Belgian Grand Prix. 4th win of the season, and it extends his championship point lead as we go to Italy in 2 weeks' time. Hope you'll join us then. For Derek Bell and Peter Windsor, I'm Mike Joy. You've been watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net.